Hello everybody and welcome back to Overkill Simulations, and today we are back with another episode of Hangar Control and the Stream Deck. If you are someone who really despises using the Elgato UI and having to deal with these tiny compressed windows and having everything stacked on each other and scrolling to bind your keyboards, or going through a whole bunch of different property inspectors to find what you're looking for, then today is going to be a video you're going to really want to watch. Stick around. One app designed to do it all. Hangar Control brings everything together. Control bindings, hardware configuration, mod and profile management, application launching, add-ons, config files, and more, all managed from a single application. Mods Hangar goes beyond just mods and add-ons. It manages profiles, config files, text files, backups, snapshots, and helps keep your community folders clean and organized. Application Hangar launches your entire sim stack with a single click. Your Stream Decks are fully controlled through the Hangar Control plugin, while all of your other Stream Deck plugins remain active and available. Built by a simmer for simmers, Hangar Control adds new features and hardware support every week based on community feedback. It's a one-time purchase with lifetime updates, no subscriptions. You can try it for free for 5 days with no restrictions at overkillsimulations.com. Just create an account, head to your account page, download the latest version, and get started. And if you're looking for in-depth Microsoft Flight Simulator aircraft tutorials, check out my Patreon site. Links to Hangar Control and Patreon are down in the description below. Okay, folks, so first off, if you guys are interested in trying Hangar Control, you do want to make sure that you go to overkillsimulations.com. Go to your account page and create your account first. Even if you want to buy the software outright and support my work, you still need to create that account first, then be logged into the website, click on the red account button in the top right, and then you can either download or purchase Hangar Control. But even if you are not logged in, or if you do not have an account and you try to buy the software, you will get an error at checkout. So that covers that portion. Now let's get into this. Little backstory here. When I first created the integration between Hangar Control and the Stream Deck, Hangar Control would take full control, see what I did there, of the Stream Deck, meaning that you couldn't use any of your other plugins up here or anything else that you might have been using. Hangar Control, the Elgato software actually had to be completely shut down in order for Hangar Control to work. Well, rightfully so. The community didn't particularly like that. They wanted to be able to have access to all their other stuff too, and so we created the plugin. Now, the plugin is very powerful, does a lot, but again, you guys can see there's quite a mess here. Now, I do want to emphasize before we get into this video that all of these functions still work. If you are happy using this, if you've already built it using this, you don't really want to use the new tool, whatever, you do not have to. All of these still function as they will, and this will not affect your current setups or bindings in any way. But today what we're talking about is creating an entirely new window and a new method of binding the Stream Deck. So, all right, so let's get this show rolling. So what we want to do here is you're going to click on whichever field you want. So you have your buttons right, and then we have our encoders. And the encoder also applies to the LCD, right? So let's start with a button, and then we're going to scroll all the way down. Like I said, all of these still work, so they will remain present. And what you're interested in is HC binding. Think I'm binding in Hangar Control, right? We're just going to come up, drop that into place, and boom. And then look at, all you need to make sure is that you have a connected status. That part is required. And then you just hit configure binding in Hangar Control, and you are presented with this beauty. This thing is super cool. So you also have the preview state, which by default, I believe for you guys will be off. Okay. But you can turn that on, use live sim variables, so that means that whatever is seen on the button should be seen here. Now you guys can see we have a movement icon. We'll talk about that in a minute. And I tried to make this the way that I like to think about things, right? So I usually go, what do I want this button to do first? Then I worry about how I want it to look, icons, backdrops, font, etc. Is it going to be readouts? Is exactly what it sounds like, reading out data, right? So your altitude, airspeed, current heading, barometric pressure, right? All your variables that you want to read. And it's also important to note that when you guys are using these readouts and using these variables, you can't necessarily use them also for binding. I think it's also important. I see this question come up a lot and this problem come up a lot. It's important to know that sim variables are cool. Not all of them are read and write. They are all read, but not all of them can be directly edited or written to, okay? So if you ever have a variable that you know is dead on right, you know it is the correct variable, you can see it displaying correctly, but no matter what you do, you can't edit it, it may not be an editable or writable sim variable, okay? And then state, which is the button or icon state changing feature, right? So when do I want the button to change to something else? So let's get into this. So I think what we're going to do first, and everything that you guys see happening here, it's all going to be live preview. So as we make the changes here, you should also see it here on the Stream Deck. We can actually move Hangar Control out of the way. The other cool thing I will tell you guys too is that you can have more than one of these open at a time. All right, so let's go ahead and get the show rolling. So first we're going to configure our press action, and we're going to do this, we will do a long press and a short press for this one. We'll do taxi light on and off, set an icon, and a state change. Let's get after it. So for the single press, we're obviously going to come down here, and by the way, you guys, this should obviously look familiar to everyone who's already using Hangar Control. That's right, we are now using the unified binding window. So it is literally the same window across the entire platform for binding your controls. So that should make that much easier. So we're going to go to Browse, go to Taxi. Taxi lights on is what we're going to use here. Hit OK. That's our Sim Connect event, and we're going to simply save. And then if we, for example, keep an eye on the taxi light switch down here below, I'm going to press our button up here. There we go. And you do obviously need to make sure that the Hangar Control service is running, which we started at the start of the video. Okay, let's go back in, configure. We're going to add a press type. Let's do long press. And we're going to go again, Sim Connect event, taxi lights off, save, save again. And so now this time, we're going to get a hold press, so a long press, so anything more than half a second. Here we go. Boom. Short tap, long press, short tap again does nothing, long press again, shuts it off. Perfect, right? Okay, so let's keep on going. Back to our configure binding and Hangar Control, bring it back down, and off we go. So now, we need to set an icon. Now you have a background, and here's the other cool part. Historically, so far, using all of those property inspectors that are found within the Stream Deck, you had to come up with a hex code for the color you want. Well, I got tired of that, and now we have a full-on color wheel throughout the Stream Deck configuration. So we'll just pick some random color just to show you. And now we're going to go for our icon states. Okay, so you also have your labels for on-off text. Okay, if you want to just do labeling and no icon. But you can also now choose a different icon for off state and on state if you wish. What we're going to do is we're going to go lights. Then we're going to select from the lighting category. We're going to look for taxi. There they are. Let's use full rocker amber. There it is. Let's size it. And everything that I'm seeing here, I am also seeing on the physical Stream Deck itself. There we go, taking up the entire button. Okay, perfecto, and that's all I need for this particular one, unless we wanted to set something different. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into state, and we want to change it. Now we can either do toggle when pressed, so if I save it, keep an eye up here, and I press the button, there's on. Now it already went to off because I pressed the button, right? Well, we don't want that. We want it to actually track the variable. So let's go back in here again. And we're going to go to state, follow a variable. We're going to browse for our variable. It's going to be a sim variable, or it can be an LVAR. And this does take a second because it's actually pulling the sim from Hangar Control. But there it is. And we're just going to search for taxi. And there it is, taxi light, no decimal. Insert the token. On or at or above 0.5, that's the halfway point. That's great for what we're doing here because it's going to be 0 or 1, right? And units is going to be bool. Save. Turn on. There's our icon switch. Press and hold. Holding, off, and it follows the variable. Okay, real simple to do now. It's all in one window, easy to navigate through. Okay, let's do another one. Let's just set up a sim variable. Or let me show you the on-off text. Let's do the on-off text. So we're going to do one more here. Let's grab this guy here, drop it up in here. Go to configure. Bring it down. Oh, come here. And let's do, I don't know, nav lights. Okay, and we'll do this one slightly differently. So configure, and we're going to just rinse and repeat this one. Let's do a double tap on this one, actually. We'll add a press, and we're just going to do a double tap. 2 quick presses in succession. Okay, we can leave the single press there, but I want to show you guys the double tap function. And create conditions, and all that works just like it did before. But we're coming here, and let's do, what do we say, nav lights? Yep, there we go. There's nav lights, and we want toggle nav lights for this one, because we're going to be double tapping each direction. Okay, then we're going to go to our appearance, and we just want the labels. Nav on, nav off. Okay, so that's what we got so far. Now we can also change the colors of each individual one. Say maybe we want a green for nav on, I don't know, red for off. Okay, and on the Stream Deck you can see we're seeing the last known command. That's totally fine. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our state. Okay, and again we're going to follow a variable just like we did before. And we're going to do nav lights. There they are. And again, no decimals. Insert that token. Just like a tax light, it's going to be a bool because it's not a specific value. Okay, we're tracking something different. There we go. And you can see the nav lights are in fact off, right? So I'm going to press that button once. Nothing happens. I'm going to press it and I'm going to hold it. Nothing happens. I'm going to do tap, tap. Literally that fast. Tap, tap. Boom. And you guys see we can now have nav on. Give it another tap, tap. Now, why did I show you the single press and the long press too? The reason why I showed you that is because that means that you can have this one button do all three. You can have it do a short press. You can have it do a release if you wanted. So we can do single press. We can do action on release of the button. We can do a double tap. And we can do long press. And all 4 of those could be bound at the same time. With the release in there, I think that would be weird because every time you let go of the button, whatever that's set to, it's going to do what it does. But you guys get the idea. Okay, so let's come back into Hangar Control. Okay, very nice. Now, the next thing that we want to take a look at is obviously the encoder. Okay, now real quick on these, you have a couple of different options here. Okay, you can set the position to none, which means it literally removes it. You can set to center, or you can place it manually. Okay, and you can do that for one line controls both labels. So this will simply change position to what these other labels are. Okay, so now let's take a look at the big one. I think is the encoder and the touchscreen. All right, so we're going to hit save here, and let's go back to our HC binding. But in this case, you want to make sure you select the encoder first. Drag it over. And just like before, so you can see this HC binding right here. I am seeing that. Again, this is an exact representation of what we're seeing on the physical device. So in order to get rid of that, this is a Stream Deck thing. You just click on the title field and hit spacebar. Okay, and that'll get rid of that. And then configure again. And you can see now we even have a new section, the encoder. And this is the only one that we really have to worry about aside from appearance if you want an icon. So let's come over here to encoder. Now, when we turn the dial, we're just going to sort of work our way down. When we turn the dial, what do we want it to do? Okay, we want it can change a variable. I always prefer just the direct fire actions. But if you know that your variable is read and write, then you can certainly use change as variable. And turning left will automatically establish a minus. Turning right will establish a plus. I'm going to do fire actions. I like being able to control them both directions. And you also have drive the armed touch zone panel or touch panel zone. So if you have a target zone and you arm it and you want this particular encoder to drive that, you simply, that's it. Just check it and that's all you have to do. That is literally it. Now you can still bind these commands up here. So we could still have heading bug left, heading bug right, whatever we want to do. And as soon as it detects that the touch zone panel is armed, this will be paused and this will take precedence. Okay, so take priority, and then when the touch panel zone is disarmed, this function will resume. Okay, it's really cool. So anyway, we're gonna go sim connect event for this particular one, and we're going to do, let's do heading bug and altitude target for right now. Okay, so let's do this. We're gonna go sim connect, browse, heading bug increase, boom, boom. Oop, helps when you hit the right button. We don't need anything else here. That's totally fine just like that. Counterclockwise, go back into browse, decrease, save. Now, we're going to add a second layer. What the second layer? Second job for the same dial, reached by holding the dial in while you turn it. This is how one knob does coarse and fine, or heading and coarse, right? So, what we're going to do is we are going to, again, fire the actions. And again, you still have the drive armed touch panel zone. So as long as you're pushing in and holding it. So we're going to go sim connect event. We're going to go to browse again. And what did we say we were doing? Altitude variance, right? So I believe it is autopilot underscore nope, it's alt var. There it is, alt var increase. Boom, there it is. Add the next one, sim connect, browse, alt var decrease. Okay, and dial press. Now, right now it's set to switches the second layer. Okay, or you can set it to fire a sim connect event. So for example, I'll show you guys that one the next one when we do barometric pressure. Okay, and then tapping the screen. Do we want tapping the screen to do anything? Well, let's go ahead and do that. We're going to tap the screen and we want it to, in this particular configuration, we're going to have it go ahead and set our altitude hold. So there it is, autopilot mode, altitude hold. That's what we want it to do. And we're not going to worry about these just yet. Well, actually, I guess we can. Actually, no. We're going to leave this here. You could add a label here, okay? But I don't want to use this one for this particular piece. And then there's acceleration, but we're going to leave that off for now. I think the Stream Deck is perfectly fast enough as it is, personally. But let's go now to, let's just save it for a second. And let's go back in, and we're going to go to readouts. Let's add some readouts here. So first I want SimVar. And since this is controlling two of them, let's look for alt. Is it target? No. I always have the hardest time finding this one, I'm not going to lie. Is it autopilot altitude? Autopilot alt. There it is. Okay. Autopilot altitude target. That's exactly what we want right there. Okay. No decimals. Insert token. Now, it says FO right there. We can come down here and we'll just leave that for right now. But what we can do for this one is we can go alt. Okay. And we can add a suffix if you wanted it to actually say feet. Okay. We can move that over if we want. But let's just add another readout for a moment. Let's go browse, sim. This one's going to be autopilot heading, right? Heading target. Again, no decimals, insert. Expand the menu, degrees, and we could have heading. And And if you guys are interested in how to do a degree sign, it's Alt 248 on your numpad. So holding the Alt key, 248, and you get the degree symbol up there. So for right now, let's just go ahead and hit save. And now we're watching our stuff here. Got ahead of myself. We needed to change our format to value, and I put the 3 zeros in here so that way you get that third 0. Okay, so then we're going to do the same thing up here. We need to change it to value as well. And right now the altitude target is 0 feet. Okay, and if you want to spread things out a little bit, I would do something like this. Okay, or you can do altitude equals. Same thing with the bottom one. Heading equals. And then now, you guys can just watch it as we go here. See, we're turning the heading bug. Now, it's lagging like this on the screen you guys are seeing here because of, think about the train it's taking. It's going from the sim to Hangar Control to the Stream Deck to the preview window. But if you guys watch over here, it's moving significantly faster. It's going 1 to 1. 9. Okay, let's take it into the hundreds. There you go. Okay, so there's that. And so again, we're turning the heading bug. Now I'm going to press down and hold the button down. That was our option, is we had to hold it. So I'm pushing and holding. Watch our altitude target. Okay, so nice, cool way to use things like this as well. Now, let's do one more on the encoder, okay? And we're going to do, let's set up the heading, or the barometric pressure, just for giggles. Okay, so again, just as a rinse and repeat, let's clear that out. Configure binding and Hangar Control, bring it on down. We're going to do this one a bit faster. We're going to go through the encoder. And we're going to, oh, you know what? I'm sorry, I forgot. There is one other thing I wanted to show you guys on this. Now, keep an eye on our autopilot panel before I forget. I'm going to tap the screen. There you go. So, all those functions from this one dial, okay? And we haven't even gotten to flags, target zones, and it can still control the target zones too. So, really, really powerful. And really easy to set up now, in my opinion. Now, back to where we were. Configure binding. So we're going to go to our encoder, and we're going to, again, I like doing it like this. This is just my preference, but if you want to do a variable, you certainly can. But we're going to do the Colesman, and we want increase. We want decrease, which is already high. Oh, nope, 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 nope. Well, here, we can just change it here. Okay. Second layer, we're not going to have a second layer for this one. Instead, when we press the dial, we're going to have it set our pressure to standard. So fire a SimConnect event, and we still want Colesman, but we want Colesman set. Okay. Okay, and we're going to enter the value. This one's a little weirder, is 16211. All right, so go into a save. And we also want to get our value up on the display, right? So let's do that. So we're going to go back to our configure binding, go to appearance. We actually want readouts, add readout. And we're going to do a browse SimVar. And we want Barrow. Oh, change this to SimVars. And we want inches for us, and we want 2 decimals. Insert token. We're going to drop that down. I will get that addressed too to where it stops doing that. And we want value still. And we got 30. We want still 2 decimals here. 2992. Okay. And for the label, let's say we want Barrow. And here's where this gets fun. And I hadn't shown you guys this yet. We can now take, instead of moving these things around, taking all these sliders and all that jazz, like, let's turn this one to blue. Let's go yellow, something that's easier to see. There we go. All right. Can now take it and move it. And you can move them independently. Label size, let's make that, I don't know, 32, mercy. Okay. So we can take this one here, bring this one up here, just like so. And eventually this feature will exist in just about everything. Let's kick this guy up to 30 as well. You guys can see what we're seeing here. We're a little close to the top, so let's bring it down just a hair. And you still have your bump bars down here and your sliders if you want to use those. You're able to say set prefixes if you want, suffixes if you want. Okay, really, really easy stuff. And so now we're going to hit save again. Just sort of keep an eye on our Stream Deck here. Turning our encoder. Okay, you can see all that's adjusting perfectly fine. Press the button. And back to 2992. So this is just the start, folks. I wanted to give you guys sort of a high-level intro into this new feature and what's coming. This is going to make it a lot easier to expand the capabilities of the Stream Deck. It's going to make it a lot easier to add new customizations to the Stream Deck. We're going to start adding things like being able to change complete button states, icon states, everything based on sim variables or Hangar Control variables. Be able to switch profiles based on variables. I mean, there's just so much. There's so much now that I'm going to be able to do. It was really uncomfortable doing it because, using the property inspectors was just, it was just so much clutter in this tiny little window. And so now being able to have access to the larger window and being able to, have those tabs on the top where I can separate them out and really make it to where it's a much cleaner UI, I think it's going to go a long way. Now, can you use this? This will be available tonight in the beta section found on my Discord. It is a beta release right now. I will be dropping the beta in the Discord tonight. Please remember the rules of a beta and the understanding of a beta. Beta means you may run into bugs. It may break shit. Okay, pardon my language. But it's just the reality of what it is. You may find some bugs. You may find some missing features and things like that are more significant than what may be in the live stream version. Be sure to report those, and as always, if you decide that the beta isn't for you, simply uninstall Hangar Control, go back to the website and download it from there, and you'll be back to the previous public release. So anyways, guys, again, I hope you guys are thinking about trying Hangar Control after seeing this. I can tell you right now, this is going to be a really awesome thing to set up on my Stream Deck XL Plus, which I'm really excited to get after that. It's going to be intense. And as always, folks, stay safe and healthy. Have a wonderful week. We'll talk soon. See you in the next one.